Sorry, yeah, we're trying to get the live stream. Yeah.
And we're gonna start the meeting. Check this sorted out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now we're going to share. Share this. Share. All right. All right, team, can y'all let us know virtually if you can see our slides and also hear us? If you can give us a thumbs up that you can see the slides and hear us. Thank you, Addison. Okay. I'll get your clicker. Share. Share this. Share.
That's just the way.
All right, team, can y'all let us know virtually if you can see our slides and also hear us? Give us a thumbs up. I need to mute the YouTube.
He's like, wait a minute, something's wrong.
Yeah. I need to mute this. Okay.
What is happening?
We're in the matrix or something, right? Okay, so now we should be good. And I will get
We
this.
can call the meeting to order. We're gonna follow the agenda as it's been emailed to you and publicly noticed. Pleased to call this meeting of the Maryland Go Team to order at 2:49 p.m. The first order of business is to call roll and to establish a quorum. So just say present or here if you're here. Denise Brimsley.
Here.
Christy Perez, that's me. Addison Draper. You can see on the screen. Party Ram. Kayla Dees here. Becky Hecox.
Here.
Missy Snyder here. Lindley Terrace here. Scott Thorpe. Kelsey Boyajian here. Okay. So now that we've established that those that are present, there is a quorum, so we can proceed. The first action item is the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Motion. Second. All those in favor of the agenda? Becky, we can't see you, so can you raise your virtual hand or come off of mute? Okay, well, we'll pass without you. We're gonna get through my minutes. These were sent to you by email. It worked. Oh, thank you, Becky. I see it. Can I have a motion to approve the previous minutes? Motion. Second. Sorry, I see you. Okay, can we vote on those minutes? If you're in favor, please say aye or raise your hand virtually or otherwise. Okay, that's the end of our action items on the agenda. You can see the agenda here on the slides as well. The main agenda item, the main discussion items for this meeting is to review the 2025 spring map results and then the needs assessment as we analyze those results. The slides really are mostly Denise's to present because they're the data. But the data points to consider are the spring results and then the fall to spring comparison for specifically literacy and numeracy across all grade levels. I'm just gonna give you the clicker.
Yes.
So you can.
Yeah, so I actually shared some of this information already with the community, the virtual principals coffee that we had last week. So if you attended, this is very similar. These are our achievement quintiles. So this is the these bars represent the percentage of students who scored in each quintile. The blue represents the highest quintile, which is students who scored in the 80th percentile or higher. Green is students who scored in the 61st to 80th percentile. Average is 41st to 60th percentile. Orange is 21st to 40th percentile, and then low is the 21st percentile and below, and that key will stay the same for all of the slides. But you can see here that we had incredibly high number of students achieving in the 61st percentile or higher. I know we've in this room talked about achievement versus growth a lot. This is achievement. So this is just their percentile rank and how they scored achievement wise compared to their peers. So really proud of this. This is consistent with the way that Maryland performs traditionally. And this is across, the reason I like to look at the quintile graph versus the like proficient distinguished graph that's just upper grades, is because this includes K5. So this includes our entire student body, and I have a grade level breakdown coming up soon. This is ELA achievement, quintiles, very similar to math, a very high percentage of our students, almost about 84% of our students were in the 61st percentile or higher. So just another, piece of evidence that students at Maryland are generally very high achieving. Once again, this is tracking with previous years on achievement. Here's that grade level achievement. So this kind of like gives you an idea of what our cohorts look like. So when we talk about different grade levels and achievement and growth, we like to look at the cohorts because all cohorts of kids are not the same. Students, have different strengths, or groups of students as a whole have different strengths in different areas of growth. So this just goes to show the grade level achievement differences between, grades K5 and between content areas. So you can see, for example, the cohort that's currently in second grade here at Maryland, 81% of these students, of these 83 students, and there's only 83 because, oh no, that's not right. There's 83 students that were tested. 81% of them were in the 80th percentile or higher, which is like incredible, right? So we use this kind of aggregate data to wrap our head around what instructional planning will need to look like in the coming year. So we already have shared this information with our third grade teachers for next year, so they know when we're at the planning table, when we're engaging in professional learning or, kind of prepping for the year on the front end, we already know that an incredibly high percentage of those kids are going to come in ready to rock and roll with third grade reading standards, and then potentially even, go forward into higher grade level standards. Obviously an area of growth for us here would be fourth grade math. I don't know if I want to announce, well, anyway. Anyway, we do have a plan for one way that we can capture some additional achievement in that fourth grade cohort when they go to fifth grade. And that one way that you can ensure students continue to achieve at a high rate is by looping. So looping means that a teacher from one grade level is going to continue on to the next grade level with those same students. So I want to be vague here for a reason, because we haven't made any official announcements, but we are considering having one or both of the current fourth grade math teachers loop up and teach these same exact kids fifth grade math. And as a teacher who looped with her fourth grade math students and then taught them fifth grade math, I can attest to how powerful it is hitting the ground running with students who you've already taught for an entire year. So you already know their strengths, their weaknesses, and you can really shave off like the 3 or 4 weeks of like getting to know you, informative assessment data, and hit the ground running. So we are looking at doing some looping from fourth to fifth and from third to fourth. Specifically in third to fourth, we are actually thinking about looping some teachers on both the math and the reading side, somewhat. It's not going to be an exact loop, but I can share those details once we are off the official Go Team reporting, anecdotally.
Sorry, I was just thinking to myself, that fourth grade group was kindergarten and during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a virtual.
But does it make sense though for there to be a big jump between second and third grade, just because the content in third grade drastically is different than what happens in second grade. The first year of writing essays, the milestones, all those things.
Absolutely.
It seems on par with.
It does, and that's not atypical. If we were to pull up the grade level breakdowns for our sister schools, if you will.
Right.
That's not uncommon, because when you hit third grade, you are transitioning from learning to read to reading to learn, and
Take more assessments.
you're going from one homeroom teacher, right, to two, where you're departmentalized, there's a transition involved. So it is definitely a learning year, and we understand that. So I think that does track. And then by the time they get to fifth grade, look how much they've grown back up. And they're back to, kind of the level that they were at the younger grades. So great
Yeah,
achievement.
that they will change, cause we figure the fourth graders that are there now, that's their first time departmentalized.
It is.
Whereas
graders.
these no.
No, because they
No,
weren't
last
departmentalized
year.
last year.
So where those third graders that will look the fourth grade,
That's
they're
a
probably.
very good point.
Too, in that growth, because that now was their second time.
It'll be their second time. That's a really good point, Kayla, yeah. All right, so then we have growth. I've talked about kind of the intricacies around assessing growth on the math assessment because it's computer adaptive, and we've got students who are in fourth grade and on their fourth grade math reading assessment are never given a fourth grade question because they're only ever given above level questions because they've achieved so high on subsequent, on prior tests. So that being said, still incredibly impressed with our growth. These are the Midtown and Jackson cluster schools. And you can see that we have a very high percentage of our students who are continuing to grow in the 61st percentile or higher, about 55%. A target for us, we analyzed this data as a staff. Was it right after spring break? It was a Tuesday after spring break. So we've dug into this data as a staff. We've identified these students who are in that low or low average percentile, and put, interventions and differentiated instruction plans in place as we finish up the year, to ensure that students do meet their growth goals. But once again, we will look at some of the students who experienced low growth and they were in the 99th percentile and they're still in the 98th, 97th percentile. So just kind of want to manage the expectation there. But we still want to be up here, right? We don't want to be down here. We want to be as high as we can on the growth percentiles. ELA. Also excellent growth despite high achievement, which is great. We have a bigger chunk of the kids in this kind of average spot. So, just targeting, we've done a lot to integrate social studies into our ELA and reading content. And just, I know that you've been doing some DBQs, right, in upper grades. So really trying to get those folks who are in the average growth to move up. We've put some plans in place, but overall, stellar growth in comparison to ourselves in previous years and our sister schools. This is grade level growth, which is so interesting. So this shows, right? Kindergartners are sponges, right? And our kindergarten teachers teach their behinds off, right? Our kindergarten teachers are teaching, our kindergarten paraprofessionals are teaching, everybody's teaching.
Teaching.
Everybody's teaching in kindergarten. Not that everybody's not teaching everybody else, but you know what I'm saying. I want to say that yes, they're sponges, but also we put a lot of intentionality into the planning in kindergarten as well as other grade levels.
And they want it. Right.
Yeah, oh yeah, eager.
And also, how much of that is just them learning the format of the test and how to use the computer?
There's that.
Because like on the very first one, it's like in August or September.
Yeah,
right?
it's like, yeah, exactly, right, it's late August, so I think that definitely plays a part. So you kind of see the cohorts, how each group has grown compared to each other. Our fifth graders are, as you saw, incredibly high achieving and really truly being assessed on grade level standards that are far beyond fifth grade. You know, in hindsight, it would have been nice to kind of put up the grade level achievement for each grade level, but you know, there's a million data points I could pull, so this is what I went with. And then ELA, very similar. This is how students are growing. I mean, honestly, if you're talking about Georgia milestones and like points on CCRPI and SGP, anything yellow and above is going to be positive for us. Okay, if you're talking CCRPI, so obviously we want to be in the top bands, but 60, 61 and higher on CCRPI and Georgia milestones, actually might be 65 and higher, is going to earn us 1.5 points per student on that growth. Anything 41 to 60 is actually going to earn us a point per growth. So the state of Georgia sees 41% and higher as the target, as green growth, right? So it looks yellow on this, you know, quintile graph, but really our target of folks that we want to make sure that we are growing is this 26%. So, you know, yellow and up is kind of where we want kids to be. This is the growth achievement quadrant. I think I showed this, shown this to you all before. It measures growth against achievement. Excuse me. So this is high growth, high achievement. This is high growth, low achievement, low growth, low achievement. Woo! Here, that's great. We'll go grab. Yeah. I watch them here. I got you. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Kelsey. Oh, I'm gonna drink that too. Terrible. I'm gonna smell like a blueberry lemon.
Oh, did it get on?
It, just a little bit right here. It's fine. So yes, so we are here. High growth, high achievement. No, it's not that bad. So we're high growth, high achievement. About 87, I think. 87th percentile as a median for our entire school. 87th percentile in achievement, and we were about 65th percentile in growth, and that's the median for the whole school. So I think it's important also to qualify that it's a median and not a mean, because as we know, as we learned in fifth grade math, maybe sixth grade math, depending on where you went to school, the measures of central tendency and how each one is susceptible to being skewed. So it is a median, not a mean. So it could be that we have some outliers on the high end or the low end that aren't really, you know, being incorporated. But okay. And then this is our ELA growth achievement quintile. I think we're actually the same. I think we're 87th percentile achievement on ELA, a little bit higher growth, about 60th percentile on growth as a school. So we're exactly where we want to be. Really proud of a lot of our fellow Midtown cluster and Jackson cluster schools who are seeing themselves on the other side of growth, which is awesome. That's where you want to be, you know, above the line tells us you're making gains, right? Whether you're low achieving or high achieving. So that's really great. Used to be, you know, there used to be a lot more folks on here, district wide. So APS as a whole, looking good, moving in the right direction. And that is it. Okay.
So the next discussion point in the agenda is the needs assessment. During this needs assessment, we'll look at the data from the Spring Maps administration and identify 2 to 3 potential needs for the 2025-2026 school year. This discussion will help the school leadership as they prepare for the 2025-2026 school year. So these are just like the questions that we should be asking ourselves and each other and discussing. What does this data tell us? What good news is there to celebrate? What are the growth opportunities? What trends do we see in the data? I think one thing that Denise already brought up is like with looping the teachers, where there is like an opportunity for growth in that 3rd, 4th grade cohort of students. But yeah, it is pretty exciting that the kids are doing so well, that they are growing so much. Yeah.
I will say, you know, speaking to, I think, who was it mentioned that the current fourth graders were in kindergarten, during COVID, I think that, you know, we're still trying to figure out how we can close. First of all, we're still trying to identify, you know, any gaps that remain, whether it's around handwriting, right, or letter formation, or stamina, you know, these are things that our kids in third and fourth grade maybe didn't develop, because third graders had pre-K during COVID, fourth graders had kindergarten during COVID, so. I did talk to Ms. Fuller, and apparently part of the new benchmark advanced curriculum, there is a handwriting component. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. We haven't gotten the materials yet, fully. But I know that that's gonna be really big for our lower grades, because I know the letter formation continues to be an area of struggle, you know, because when you have so many other pieces of content to cover, right? Like the actual content, you know, those kind of things fall off.
And
But
more well versed in using a keyboard or iPad versus.
well, and they've developed
Yes.
their own methods, right? Their own ways, just maybe not as traditional as the other letter formation. So, I mean, we've identified that as a need. I don't know if you guys can see in our map program, but we identified handwriting, you know, written composition, right, as a, like handwriting as an area for.
So probably the growth opportunities is, of course, and I'm a little biased, because I teach kindergarten, so I do see, but I also know the work that. I do see what we had to do for them to grow at the rate they did, but I do notice just what, there is a dip there from between where it was probably like a 40% dip in that, so it's probably just seeing how can we close some gaps or continue to grow, because a lot of times what happens, our students are coming in a little high performing already. So
Already
it is,
reading.
right, it's tough to continue to see growth and along with the achievement, because the achievement's gonna be there, but it's the growth part.
Well, I think that growth is also kind of highlighted in the fourth and fifth grade years as well, where you can see that there's not as many in the blue and green, I think that's the colors, for those grades, and I think it's like, just from my personal experience, like having my kid reading at like a seventh grade level. And then she gets to the map test, and then it's kind of like testing science concepts as
Oh,
opposed
yeah.
to testing reading
Oh, yeah.
ability,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and like the maybe paragraphs that they like are choosing to test them on to try to like comprehend those things are actually like, you know, like
grade level.
Sure.
yeah, and they're at like, they're just vocabulary words that are specific to certain things that you probably wouldn't have
vocabulary.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so I think it's figuring out the bridge between what's developmentally appropriate and what's academically appropriate for that child. And that's probably where the two are not connecting to see that consistent growth on all of the levels.
And I will say that this year, you know, we've tried to be really intentional about ensuring that our GATE resource classes incorporate grade level content and academic specific standards. And I think that hearing all of this is, you know, possibly like if we could have a vocabulary focus.
Absolutely.
In the gifted resource classroom. Not to say gifted learners are the only ones who are in this high achievement band. We certainly have students who are not gifted eligible who are achieving at the same rate.
But you also have a large percentage of
Yes,
students.
43% of our student body, right?
It's so interesting though, because I feel like whatever we make as our goal, we always see that flip the next.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember really pushing vocabulary, you know, this last, the last 3 months between the MAP tests. And the vocabulary was, they all excelled on vocabulary, now it's nonfiction. Like, it'd be interesting to talk to Ellery about it, like, was it such like domain specific nonfiction passages that, you know, cause they're all such history people that I was surprised to see nonfiction as what they struggled in, so.
Mm, but we don't know exactly what those nonfiction have.
No,
Right.
yeah,
They very well could have been nonfiction
Yeah.
science, right? I mean,
exactly.
That's what it's.
And I didn't hover, you know, I didn't
Right,
wanna
right.
hover
No,
around
no,
them
no,
to see
no.
what they were testing, but yeah, it's interesting. Whatever we make our goal, it could be, so I wonder if you've been looking at domain or, standard or domain specific goals. I don't know if it would be worth it as far as like, I think more importantly, like those the bubble kids, I feel like is what we that I just looking at the data, I feel like they've slipped through the cracks, the
yellow.
Right.
yellow.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Right, here's what the green. would get.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
just looking at growth,
They're gonna-
growth wise,
Yeah.
like there are so many
know,
right there that just need the extra.
Well, and I think that we had a really great opportunity for 3 years prior to this year. With that 30 minutes of targeted intervention.
Yeah,
time,
and I
that
feel
you
like we're
could have-
seeing the benefit
Yeah,
or the
the-
negative.
right.
Yeah, we could have, if we can, how can we structure in some dedicated intervention and enrichment time? And
Especially with EIP paring down.
jammed and half school day.
I mean, there's also something to be said about not, teaching for the tests.
Yeah.
And, like, they're becoming whole people here. and
Yeah.
There's so many other things
So
that are
true.
part of your school learning day
Yeah.
that aren't reflected in test scores.
That's
Yeah,
very true.
yeah.
I was to piggyback on you, but I was thinking this and when you were saying it and it kind of built to the thought. Well, because I was thinking about the domains as well, like the math domains, and I wonder, because I know we've reviewed them before, we've looked at the different things. But I guess now that the standards are new, maybe seeing like which
Yeah,
actual
that's
domains and components of the math test.
It looks so
Like
different
very,
now.
like clearly
That's a
aligned with the
very
standards. So then as
Yes.
we're planning, we know, okay, I'm doing this they need comprehension, right? Being able to pull out key details, write a narrative, but then also on the back end, math is gonna be checking for this explicit vocabulary. What comprehension piece can I bring in that couple with that vocabulary, so then that way.
But looping up, I think will be really helpful because you can see where they started out at. And then where they're headed towards, especially with teachers that have taught, they're moving from 4th to 5th and they've taught 5th grade before.
Does that mean the homerooms will stay the same?
My,
No,
Okay.
well, so this is all, we're still trying to figure out exactly what it's gonna look like, but, we have, right now, the, teachers, this is kind of an internal document, so the parents, you might not have seen it and you probably won't see it, but internally, we have these like student portfolio cards that the teachers fill out every year and share, both, quantitative data and qualitative data about every learner, and these pass from teacher to teacher, so at the beginning of the year, if you didn't loop right with your students, you can kind of get a good idea of like where each of them is coming from. But where was I going with that? We were talking about
Oh,
this.
just, I think that'll really
That'll
help
help.
with, the growth opportunities for
Yeah.
next
Well,
year.
they're gonna get almost a couple of weeks of more instruction just because you're not gonna have, like
Yeah.
I said, that whole beginning of the get to know you and figuring out where they go, like
Oh my
you're
gosh.
hit the ground running.
Oh, the question was if it's a whole homeroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're filling out the cards, the teachers will come together to make the preliminary class list. And in those discussions, we're gonna decide, which
What's a
students
good
would be best, what would need the loop, like which
Right.
students are gonna really academically,
Right.
behaviorally, socially, emotionally benefit from looping. Which students could benefit from looping, which students could benefit from having a different teacher, right? So we're gonna kind of talk internally. And then before class lists are finalized, then we will kind of reach out to any parent who we have identified as a loop. And just make sure that we're all on the same page, that does make sense for the kid. So it will not be the entire
Right.
homeroom, it will be a subset of the kids, right?
yeah, that was gonna be my
In- in
question
those
as
cases,
well,
from
was
third to
like,
fourth and fourth to fifth.
What's that, Addison?
no, it's just gonna, that was gonna be my, like, was only my only concern with the looping is like, some kids will benefit a lot from being with their same teacher, and some kids who like didn't show like improvement or like growth, I mean, like maybe it's better for them to try somebody else's style, like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And we are gonna look to parents, for that input, later on, potentially early June over the summer, we're gonna, communicate with parents and and definitely get input on the looping. But yeah, it's not gonna be the whole class in any case. And the good thing about our departmentalized grade levels is theoretically, if somebody who has a teacher, so let's just say Miss Bringsland is looping from 3rd to 4th grade. Let's say, you know, Kelsey's in Miss Bringsland's class and she's really great, Miss Bringsland, but she could have another person, she could be on Miss Bringsland's team teacher's homeroom. So that she's not in my homeroom, but she still sees me.
Yeah.
Right, so there's also the potential benefit of that, of like being on the same team, but not that person being your homeroom teacher. So, but we are gonna ask parents for input too.
Thanks.
So in the red zone, the low growth
Mm-hmm.
zone, we talk a lot about, oh, it's because it's hard to demonstrate growth when they're so high achieving, but it's hard without having seen the grade level data. Were there people slipping through the cracks that were like in the red zone and maybe, yeah, like they didn't achieve and maybe they didn't grow either?
There are, yes, inevitably there are kids. I mean, I don't have a number for you off the top of my head. But you know, now that I'm thinking about it, that would be a really interesting graph to look at, would be to just isolate that 21% and see where they fall in that quadrant.
Yeah.
Like what percent of that 21% are in the 99th percentile? And
Right.
what portion of that 21% are in the 4th percentile, right? And that
Low achievement,
low growth,
Right.
right? And we do have kids, you know, we do have students who have learning difficulties, right? We do have students with IEPs who require a lot of academic support. So I think that it kind of spans, but we have identified those students kind of in our individual data meetings. And the teachers have gone through like data analysis protocols to determine where each kid falls, right, in that. And then during parent teacher conferences, that would also be a good thing for individual parents to ask about and discuss with the teachers, like, where is my kid? You know, low growth, high achievement, low growth, low achievement. And the teacher can partner with the parent then to decide, you know, next steps.
I think there's also like nervousness for tests and just bad test takers. I think there's also kids who are bad with technology and still trying to get their computers to work. And I think that, you know, this year there, at the beginning of the year, we talked about goal setting and having the students create goals. And it wasn't really focused necessarily on the map test, but the kids know what they're testing. And I wonder, just like talking through that with them, with all these other high achievers in the school, if there's some sort of loop for those kids.
That's a really good point.
I would like to know how many of those kids are deficient,
And that, yeah.
you know, because there's so many different components.
There's definitely variety when you think about it, because even if I think about just seeing tests over the years, where I have some students where they may come in high achievement, and then although they maintain that high achievement, the growth is dropping because now sometimes a student, when they already know that they're a high performer, they're not putting in as much drive and everything, and so you start to see that
They're
so it's
plateauing
almost like a
almost a
student
little bit.
mindset too, like having those confidence and their like mindset as a student, so that way they continue like pushing themselves as well.
And sometimes a characteristic of a gifted learner anyway is a lot of those kids, they don't see a meaning in something regardless of how much they understand it. There is no point, like, don't give, I'm not gonna give 100% to something like that.
Because I feel conflicted, like, do we do a whole school incentive for like them? So I've worked at schools where,
Oh, yeah.
cause I've done math for like 10 years, where we would do like a party
Oh, yeah.
for the kids that
Big
make
growth
their,
goal.
yes, and so I just feel, I don't know, I feel conflicted about
It's hard to do it about it.
It's hard
because
the timelines.
I would say one of the things I remember, that seemed impactful was that when the scores came out, I don't know if you guys remember, the scores would come out and we would show the graphs to the kids and we would have a mini conference with them after each.
We met with all, we met with all.
Say, okay, here is where your graph is at this point.
Yeah.
This is the goal where we want to do that.
Yeah.
What do you think we can do to help with that? And then that way they're more invested in the testing process and the goal, you know, as far as like really focusing and doing their best and that kind of thing. And I think that really helps because at the end they want, where's my test this time, like they wanted to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, you're onto something like, because I do that with and have done that in the past with like with my tier students, and I've seen Because we said, if we have that one-on-one, they're
Part of the
see-
conversation.
Yeah, you know where
because
they are.
Continue to.
If they see this graph.
Incremental, yeah.
A
Yeah.
potential to go up, they're like, I can do that. I'm like,
Right.
"Really? You can do that? Absolutely, I can do that. Okay, well, let's do that.
I will also say that, continuing the community gatherings next year and maybe bringing in some additional segments into the
Right.
community gathering to highlight
I agree.
growth, versus achievement, because I think that with growth and the SEL, domain of the month, this month is growth mindset, right? So every morning announcements, I'm talking about growth mindset, and I think that really establishing the norm that like, we want to grow. We want to be better versions of ourselves. We don't want to be better than her, right? I don't want to be better than my neighbor. I want to be better than I was yesterday,
Mhm.
right? And kind of like investing in that message overall, just in everything that we do. I
Like,
think
we're here to learn, not hang out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
We wanna
yeah, we're
like
here-
have more information when we leave than when we started.
Yeah, we're not here to learn, not like one up each other and
Compete.
like be better than my neighbor and compete. Well, healthy competition is important, right? Talking about that
Yeah.
too. But, just emphasizing that, we're here so that you can become better than you were yesterday and that you
Yeah.
compare yourself to yourself.
I like how Mary Lynn also, like, just speaking to what Missy was saying earlier, is like, if they don't feel like it's worth it, then they're not gonna try. There's just like a huge spectrum of activities that the kids can participate in. Because you know what, you call them gifted, but not everybody's gifted in math. You call them gifted, they're not all gonna be good at reading. Some people just don't like to read, some people just don't like to do math, but there's like opportunities for like spatial giftedness. Yeah, exactly, for them to, really shine and wherever their interests actually lie and give 100% there.
Speaking of gifted learners, and I know we probably have to move on, but one thing that we are hoping to be able to have the bandwidth to do this coming year is when scheduling those gifted resource classes, we are gonna actually look at students' eligibility report. And try and potentially schedule them in classes so that we ensure, because inevitably, if you don't look at the eligibility reports and you don't know the areas of giftedness of the learners, you could end up with a class of 12 gifted learners and 11 of them excel in nonverbal and one excels in verbal, right? And so that one kid who excels in their area of giftedness is in verbal communication might be left out. Like, we want to, much like we differentiate in the classroom based on like level of mastery, we want to be able to differentiate in the gifted classroom based on, area of giftedness. So we want to try and make sure that we're evening out to the best we can each gifted resource class, so that there are some kids who have nonverbal talents, quantitative talents, verbal talents. So that's something we're gonna try. Let's see how it works out, because it's a lot of moving pieces, but.
Great.
Next slide was like just group discussion, and you took the notes in the.
I put it in the minute. What must be true for Mary Lynn to achieve excellence? I feel like we already are. And I think we've already really walked through all of these things of what we need and maybe that they're already in process. For sure. Principals will spend the summer.
The summer? We started 3 months ago. They're talking
You're
about.
ahead.
Ready. The
Right.
summer.
Schools will begin meeting after July 1 to organize their go teams for next year. And then the first business meeting of the fall, principal and go teams will review strategic priorities, metrics, for the next school year. I think that, we're gonna go into the reports now. The discussion is finished. But you're welcome to chime in as we go through these next things.
All right, so once again, a lot of this info I shared at the principal's coffee. Did we have our single score CCRPI last time?
That's a really
Yeah, we are the top of the district. We are tied with Spark. So we both us and Spark have a 99.1 goes to a single score, which is awesome. I cannot find a table that ranks us in the state. I need to talk to data and information group to get that, but yeah, we are the number one.
State.
We're the number one single scorer, tied with Spark, in the district, right? Amazing, 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 so. All right, so here's our projections for next year. 4 classes per grade level, 1 pre-K class. Sadly, I want another one, but gotta talk to the Georgia DOE about that. These are our class sizes. We are increasing, as you all know, with the budget, we are increasing to 4 teachers in 2nd grade. So 17 to 18 kids per class. That just helps us even it out, right? It's gonna be so much easier for scheduling and just cohort consistency to have 4 teachers per grade level moving forward. These are our subgroups just to show you how we're looking for gifted students. For about 43%, just under 43% of our population has been identified as gifted. You can see our ethnicity subgroups there as well. This is just a little taste of what specials will look like next year for K2. Very similar to this year. We're gonna try and utilize a 6-day rotation. So there's pros and cons to a 6-day rotation. Pro is we have off on Monday for Labor Day. All the classes that were supposed to be on Labor Day, they're not canceled. It's just the next day is whatever day that was supposed to be, right? So if Labor Day was supposed to be B Day, just means the next day is B Day. So that means the kids who have STEAM on Monday, are not going to miss STEAM 4 times a year. It'll be shifted over. For specials, this is also proposed. This is not hard and fast. We are meeting as a lead team tomorrow to hash out the details and get some input. But we are hoping to bring back in 3rd grade the ensemble special Miss Wade did a couple of years ago. It really just depends on when we have Miss Wade. If we can make that work out in the schedule, we will have Miss Wade in the afternoon next year. So we are going to be able to add into and with a 6-day rotation, we'll be able to add in ensembles. We'll be in introduction to band and orchestra with Miss Wade. Students will also go to STEM library and counseling still. We're working on an alternative rotation on that, and if you're Miss Snyder, you'll be looped into that tomorrow when we meet. We'll get you on the table of that one. And then 4th and 5th grade, same specials, with the addition of general music for every 4th and 5th grader. So every 5th grader over 6 days will have PE, Spanish, art, music, and then chorus, band, or orchestra twice, which I know is going to really help us with the A in STEAM. Students will also continue to go to STEM and get library and counseling. I've talked about this already. Gifted model, we are phasing in the cluster grouping model. I've got an exciting textbook on it shared by Ms. Carter on Monday, so I can't wait to read more about how we can make cluster grouping model the best it can be at Mary Lynn. We are phasing this in. Next year, we will have 3 full-time gifted resource teachers. Those teachers will serve grades 2 through 5 in the resource model, so those kids will continue to receive the same gifted services that they have. With our rising 1st graders, we currently have 13 kids identified who are in kindergarten right now, will be in 1st grade next year. So those 13 students will be dispersed among the 4 1st grade homerooms, and every 1st grade homeroom teacher will be a gifted teacher. So 3 of our 1st grade teachers are already gifted certified. 1 will be in the program next year, so they will all be eligible to teach gifted learners. We only have 13 of them so far. And then we'll kind of phase the cluster gifted grouping model in, phase out the resource model, and by 27-28, this means hopefully maybe 28-29, we should be able to hire a gifted instructional coach. So that is somebody who can serve in the same capacity as like Miss Brandon, Miss Fuller, be at the planning table daily, weekly with all teachers, because every classroom at Mary Lynn will be a gifted classroom. Yeah. STEAM certification, we're rocking and rolling with that. We're working on artifact collection. We plan to submit our revised artifacts, collection of artifacts to Dr. Edwards, who's the APS team coordinator, the first week of June. So we're gonna get that to him, and then over the summer, we expect the Georgia DOE to review those artifacts. And then hopefully in the fall, we will move from our current phase to the next phase. So that we can be fully certified. Probably not by next spring, because the state is so backlogged on their certification visits. We are tracking for full certification. Fall of 26, 27. Yeah. That's the plan. Yes. And, oh yeah, the PTO, if you didn't know, the vote passed, and we are combining our parent organizations into one Maryland PTO. Really excited about that. Hopefully that'll bring a lot of clarity, to our community around, how we, support Maryland and fund all the amazing things that we got going on. This was really for the principal's copy, but I didn't know if y'all wanted to know, we have some summer opportunities. Summer school, kinder camp, some play dates, popsicles in the playground. And if you're trying to plan, I don't have a date for you, but I think the sneak peek will be Thursday, July 31st. The district has not shared that officially yet. That's just based on what it's been in the previous years, since it's the day before school starts in the morning for elementary schools, so. And that's not super helpful, people are trying to
They
plan.
start on
Soon.
Friday?
Yes.
Yes.
So soon.
Yeah. Friday,
First day of
August first.
school is Friday, August 1st.
Yeah, I love that. I love the commitment.
We learned Saturday.
Man, that is a commitment, right?
Where's
We're
your commitment?
committed.
After the commitment to starting on the first, that's not going forward.
As opposed to just waiting till.
Regardless of how many
You know.
times I vote for the calendar.
Seriously. Yeah, I know. Yeah, okay. That was all I had for you.
Do you have any report from the cat?
Well, as you might have known, APS has created a new task force made up of, I would say, about 75 stakeholders. Seems like there's a lot of people on this task force. So we have a couple of representatives, Maryland.
I was like, I signed
representatives.
up, I was like, I'm a parent, they didn't like that,
No.
they didn't let me on.
Your name wasn't on the list.
Maybe they won't recognize that I also the person.
Use his maiden name.
Yeah, right? Do it. Thinking.
Travis might have.
Yeah, Travis would not be happy with me, he would know I was being.
But myself and Melanie Leves are both on it. It's supposed to be a 3-meeting thing that goes through the fall and talks about facilities and budget. So I will keep you posted. Our first meeting is May 8th.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's so soon.
Yep.
Great.
I'll report back.
Oh, I also have good news, excuse me. On our Go Team election, we have the highest participation of households in the district for Go Team elections.
Oh, wow.
So our households are voting. Yeah.
So I will say possibly part of that is one of our Lynn parents is running for the Midtown Go Team. And so I think there was some confusion about who could vote for him, and so I was like, everybody vote, everybody vote.
Great.
Turns out they can't actually vote for him unless you have a current student at Midtown.
Oh,
But they're like, so they were like, we're
Might
here.
as well.
Well, thank you.
And so I think it worked in our favor.
It surely did, because we have the highest percentage of
Yes,
households.
love that for
We gotta work on the staff voting, but I'm gonna put that in the Rocket Hub and we'll.
We talked about it today at lunch.
Know
Yeah.
which staff will be coming on or off.
So we have 2 staff members running, but what I intend to do, Ms. Huff and Ms. Thomas are both running. And whoever wins, I do intend to backfill your swing seat with the other staff member. Because if they're interested and wanna be engaged in this way,
Yeah.
I want them to have a seat at the table, so. One of them will win and then the other one will throw Kelsey will.
And then we're only 2 parents.
Same with
So
parents.
shouldn't they both?
So we technically only have one
Parents.
parent seat and the other is a appointed community member seat. So I think that I will do the same.
Okay.
We will invite the
Second.
person who wins to be the parent seat, and then the person who gets the second place will fill the other seats, so we're gonna be good to go. We're off. We got 4 folks.
Love
They're
it.
gonna come on, so yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not funny here.
Yeah,
Me as
and
well.
so the staff will fill your role.
And is
the other
Becky
ones will-
rolling? Or she has one more year?
Becky has one more year,
And I, you have one more, Addison and I both have one more.
Addison and you, and then Scott is rolling on. And Scott was appointed by Ms. Briscoe, so, yeah, exactly, so I'll appoint the other person in Scott's place. Yeah, I'm very excited to share that we have a ethnically diverse group of folks
I
joining.
love that for Addison.
Which I appreciate, right?
Yeah.
Glad, so I'm excited that we have some candidates who represent populations that are underrepresented often. Good.
I think Addison's gonna be the lone man though.
Oh, and sorry.
You're gonna have to try to recruit some men.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm fine with that. I'm not worried.
Well, understand, you're in the elementary school space.
Yeah.
And you're a man, you
Yeah.
gotta, it just comes with the, sorry, of course,
Amen.
comes with it. Poor Mr. Rice is the only guy at our staff meetings, we have other men on staff, but they're not teachers, they're paraprofessionals. So he's.
He's holding it
frequently
down.
Holding it down.
Greg's
Well,
Yeah.
Hold it down.
Yeah, work on that, getting more guys on the team.
So we don't have any members of the public on the call time. Everybody here has probably already voted. There's a Go Team satisfaction survey that will be sent to you. And I think everybody here has already completed all their training, so that's a good one. We did great. We totally kept up everything that we were supposed to. We never had to.
Yeah, Christy. Okay, so the real question is, who is gonna do Christy's job next year, Kayla?
I believe Christy. 'Cause she just has
No,
the-
Christy's not gonna be here.
Not gonna be, where is Christy going?
Christy's rolling off. I'm looking at you, Miss Dees. I think that maybe you wanna be the Go Team chair, don't you?
We'll give it some thought.
Okay, I'll pray about it.
Let me get the,
Oh, yeah. You're finishing up the degree. You're finishing up the
But I'll be
degree.
done.
Okay.
I'll be calling you.
Okay,
I'll be here to
sure.
help you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and I have to say that Diane, she does a great job answering questions.
Oh, yeah.
And like helping
Yeah.
everybody organize and make sure they cover all the topics they're supposed to.
Yeah, there's a lot of great resources, plug and play, really. I mean, for the meetings is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the slides are so much less complicated than I thought they were going to be,
Mhm.
honestly. 'Cause They do give great templates and they
We do,
tell you what you need to put in.
exactly.
And the same things for the agenda. so.
Yeah.
All right, so can we get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Final eye.
The final eye.
Oh my gosh, the final eye. See, why are you making us emotional?
Christy, the great, right, three.
Work forever.
This was so much fun. And
It was
then we'll
great.
chat.
It was a
You
good
know
team.
we'll chat.
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
talk, we can talk, we can
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zero, awesome, fast, crazy.
So are we adjourned?
Hi, thank you,
I think
Addison.
so.
Hi, Addison.
Thank you. I'm
Right.
so sorry I couldn't be there today. There was just a
No
lot of traveling,
problem.
but I know just because it was great working with you all, and so it would have been nice
No
to
worries.
say goodbye in person, but we're not goodbye. But
Well, I was gonna say, you know where to find us. We'll see you. We'll see you soon.
But anyways, thank you all. I appreciate it.
Yeah. We're not.
We're looking.
Yeah. Don't forget about us over here. All right.